You've got your business set up and you started to operate, but you're concerned that you don't have all the pieces in place that you should, or perhaps you're about to get started and you want to make sure that you have everything in place that you really need. It's important for small businesses at the beginning to invest, even if it's just a little bit, in certain particular legal resources to make sure that you're starting on the right foot and that you aren't making mistakes that are going to come back to haunt you over time. There are three essential things that all small businesses need to have in their arsenal, ready to go at the drop of a hat so they can use them right away. The first thing is, for all of those of you who know me, know that we really believe here at HTBiz Law that an LLC or limited liability company is the ideal form when you're just getting started in your business. Unlike just operating in your own name, an LLC protects your personal assets separate from your business assets. So you set up your LLC online at the state that you reside and operate your business out of. But is there something else you should do to really make sure that your LLC is viewed as a business and that you get the most protections from that legal form? And the answer is yes. Beside doing things like having separate business financial accounts, you want to make sure that you have an LLC operating agreement. What the operating agreement does is it sets out the important terms, the rules of the road for your business, such as who the members of the LLC are. Can you add additional members? What your maximum liability is to the business. Does the business indemnify or protect you if you take an action on behalf of the business? And if something goes wrong, as long as you've been doing what you're supposed to, is that LLC going to protect you? And also, it's important to think about eventuality planning or succession planning. It's not something that you want to think about, but it is important to make sure that if something happens down the road, your business is handled in the way you want, whether it's being wound up or someone stepping in and taking it over. So that's the first thing you need is an LLC operating agreement. The second most important thing for every small business to have, especially if you're in services of any kind, is you need a client agreement because without clients, you aren't going to get paid. The client agreement is going to set up what you are doing for the client, what rights they get, how much money you receive. But most importantly, it's going to make sure that you are not giving away rights that you're going to need to operate your business and do work for other clients. It's going to protect you from endless reperformance of services by clients that just don't understand what they were getting. And it's going to set boundaries on what it means for you to have successfully completed your services. By having all of these things covered in your agreement, you're going to make sure that both you as the consultant or whatever type of service provider you are, and that your client understands exactly what they're getting, and that the two of you have a meeting of the minds, that is a legal term, but that you both understand exactly what's going to happen. Because having clarity is the best way to stay out of trouble. And there are certain things in client services agreements that really can come back to haunt consultants if they've just downloaded a template from the internet that actually isn't drafted for their business or signed something that a client puts in front of them. Because there are certain things, such as assignment of IP rights, that truly can prevent you from lawfully operating your business going forward. And you don't want to make sure that the first thing that you do actually stops you from being profitable down the road or hurts your profitability. The third thing that you're going to want to have is a non-disclosure agreement coupled with good practices to protect your copyrights and your confidential information. A non-disclosure agreement can take several different forms. It can be a mutual non-disclosure agreement if both you and the person that you're speaking with, whether it's a potential client or a vendor or a potential partner or collaborator, are both going to be mutually sharing confidential information. So in that case, you want a mutual confidentiality or mutual non-disclosure agreement. They're often used interchangeably, that name, to protect both of you. But if you are the only one presenting confidential information, such as in a client pitch meeting, What you want is a one-way non-disclosure agreement that protects what you are going to disclose, because you don't want to be in a situation where you've provided a potential client information or materials and they get to use it without hiring you. You may not think that happens, but it actually happens more than you think. If you're concerned that a potential client doesn't want to sign a legal document, you can do what I like to think of as a client evaluation letter. It's a friendly form that serves to both confirm the meeting you're going to have with the client, as well as putting sort of a stake in the ground so that the client understands that you're providing materials just for them to decide whether or not to hire you, but not for them to be able to use it without you. And I know I'm going to hear or get comments from people that say, but I need that client. What if the client won't sign or won't agree, even if we do it in email? And my honest opinion is, if you have a client that refuses to agree that the materials that you present in a potential client pitch meeting aren't yours and that they won't agree not to use them without you, run. Because if they're not willing to sign something that simple and that reasonable, unfortunately, it probably means they intend to try to take those materials and use them without you. You may not think that this happens, but I've seen this happen all the time, where potential clients will send out requests for proposals or requests for meetings to many, many consultants. They'll even ask for sample work so they can evaluate whether or not you're skilled enough to do the job. But the reality is they're just trying to get free work out of you so that they can then go off and do it themselves, either internally or with a third party. So if they're not willing to sign something as simple as, I won't agree to improperly use your materials, then assume that that's what they really intend to do. Coupled with that, of course, is you want to make sure you use confidentiality and copyright notices on anything you present under a non-disclosure agreement, whether it's mutual, one way, or a client evaluation agreement. Why do you want to work with a lawyer, even though sometimes lawyers are scary, although I really don't think I'm scary? Why do you want to work with a lawyer instead of just downloading something for free from the internet or something super cheap? The answer is, all of these contracts need to be tailored for your specific business. And there really is a big difference between contracts such as a client agreement drafted for the benefit of the consultant versus something drafted for the benefit of the client. And the things that you find on the internet, unless you're a lawyer yourself, you may not realize that you think you're downloading an agreement that's in your favor, but it's really in favor of the client. For example, you assign every possible thing to the client, which means you have nothing left, including potentially your tools and techniques that you use over and over. Or it may not have any protections for payments or give you the right to get out of the contract if the client isn't paying. As a consultant version of the agreement, or a coach or any other service provider version, will have all these protections. But one drafted from the perspective of the client won't. You won't be able to quit the contract, but they can quit anytime they want. That's another common situation. So you want to make sure that you're getting an agreement drafted specifically for you. Either, if you're going to get a template, get something that is high quality and drafted for you, or drafted from the perspective that you need, or you can work with a lawyer. One of the things I do is work with startups and small businesses all the time. I have both templates where you're guided on how to make changes yourself, or we work with you and draft it for you so you can just focus on what you need to do the most, which is generate revenue for your business, and we can take care of the admin issues for you. It isn't as much as people think, but when you have external counsel, you don't have to hire a lawyer full time. You can hire a lawyer for 1 hour, one contract, a package. You could hire a lawyer so that you have them on call for 1 hour at a time, or 1 hour a month, or 5 pages of a contract review a month. Those are all different things that we and other small business lawyers offer. I truly believe that it is very important for small businesses to have the right documents from the beginning, even more so than for big companies. And the reason is, A company that's a $20 million company can absorb a $10,000 mistake. But when you are just starting out, a $10,000 mistake may drive you out of business. So it's important to make sure that everything is done right from the beginning. And if you've already been in business, we still can go back and fix a lot of things, but there are certain things that we can never undo if they have been done wrong from the start. So you want to make sure that you are not shooting yourself in the foot from the beginning and that you are taking the appropriate steps. I understand that when you're starting up a business, funds can be tight. It was for me. I unexpectedly couldn't work almost the first year I started my law practice because one of my parents got really ill. Not the ideal situation, but you have to make it work. But I think it is so important that new businesses and small businesses have legal counsel, that one of the things I offer is if you just have a single issue that you want to deal with, or a single question, or something short that you need help with, is I do offer something called a legal strategy session where you can hire me for just 1 hour. You don't have to use me again. And during that hour, we can talk about whatever issue that you're facing in your business. And I offer that for a flat fee. It's a one-time charge. And if you then go on to work with me later, we will give you a discount for other services because you've come through our legal strategy session option. If you're interested in a legal strategy session, you can find that information on our website, htbizlaw.com, and just look for legal strategy session. This is Sharon from HTBiz Law, and I hope you just enjoy the small business process, even if at times it can be a little scary. But law doesn't have to be, and it really can be your small business best friend by keeping you out of trouble before it happens, by making sure that you've got template contracts that work for your business. You can have a client services agreement that you know exactly what's in and that you can reuse over and over so that you can quickly send it to a potential client after a meeting. And you're going to look more professional and you're going to be able to get to work faster instead of having to review what they send or find something to send. And who doesn't want to get to work faster and skip all the admin? Admin, let's face it, we have to deal with it, but when we can minimize it, that's the best. So everybody stay safe out there and have a great weekend. This is Sharon from HTBiz Law. Have a great day.